Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond, in London, England, as well as Paris, France. And of course, you go to boys from Canada. They're going to need our help, Big C. They're going to need our help, them good boys in Canada. Big C, we love the Big C tribe in Africa, but there's no one we love more than you good old boys down south. In the land of the free, in the home of the brave, Big C. How's it going on a beautiful April 25th, 2018, Big C?
Charlton, I'm suffering from a little bit of a hangover here today.
Again?
I have spent too many nights sitting up watching NBA basketball. I got to get Adam Silver's number because I'm trying to figure this out. Why do you put these games on so late? You've already got the money. Okay, have a little empathy towards the fans. I mean, when I wake up in my recliner and the game's over, I'm a little ticked off. I missed everything.
Yeah, I figure it's tough on you good old boys when they, I guess, even for NFL, when Monday Night Football kicks off 6 o'clock on the West Coast, on the East Coast, it's 9 o'clock. A lot of people got to be in bed by 9:45, Big C, especially when you got to get that moonshine delivery going early in the morning. You guys can't stay up too late, Big C. I do want to say we got to talk to Silver about that. Maybe he can change it. Today, I want to tell you, this segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C said you could drive a car or you could drive a Cadillac. Big C, so much going on in the world of the sports universe. You know, we talk about lions, Big C. I've been seeing lions everywhere. I told you, I've been in my dreams. Maybe because I watched Lion King like 50 times, Big C. Maybe that's one of my favorite movies, Big C. But I see so many lions. I see them in my dreams, Big C, and they always look to eat. Somebody's always trying to feed them. And I saw some in the NBA playoffs last night down in Golden State. Some of the Lions showed up. And I think one of them named Kevin Durant, Big C. The Kevin Durant, one of his names. Your thoughts, Big C?
Well, this was a game, Charlton, that you had to put your critics to rest. You give away one game in San Antonio, and people are like, whoa, they're not interested.
Yep.
San Antonio's creeping back into this series. There's a difference between creeping and getting back in.
Yes.
Creep makes you nervous, all right? So San Antonio was nervous.
Oh, yeah.
and they got back in one game. But my analogy on this whole thing, Charlton, was that they gave away a game to give Steph Curry an extra 2 to 3 days of rest.
Yeah.
Because if the series ends, then the next series begins quicker.
Yes.
Well, when you're trying to get a superstar that you need as this playoff is to continue healthy, you do what you need to do.
Yep.
To get him the extra rest. And if you got to lose a game, because when you look at the offensive firepower of a team like a Golden State, like a Houston, they can turn it on at any time. We saw that with Houston the other night after Minnesota had won one game.
Yep.
What did they do? They exploded for 50 points in the third quarter, second all-time high in NBA history.
Yeah.
So when you put these superstars to the test, Charlton, and that's the whole team of the Warriors is a superstar because they can play as one cohesive unit at any time.
Yeah.
Klay Thompson pulling up off the spot-up jumper, Draymond Green assisting Kevin Durant. Nobody can guard when he doesn't want to be guarded.
No.
JaVale McGee has turned into a very workable and usable player since coming to Golden State.
Yeah, he has.
Iguodala has always been a perennial player in this league. Charlton West is a very serviceable player off the bench.
Yeah.
And they picked up several other key components. But this is a team, as we keep saying, that is built for a 28-game season. Forget about the 82 in the regular.
Yeah.
They're built for a 28-game playoff stretch. If it happens to end shorter than that, they're okay.
Yeah.
But they put all their eggs in the basket for 28 games.
I tell you, Big C, it's like they have. If you ever see them in the movie Black Panther, people think it's fictional, but they have this thing called vibranium steel, okay? It's vibranium. That means some people don't even know it exists. I mean, out here in California, it's hot. It's springtime. I told you a lot of people walk around with no clothes on, Big C, or at least it's see-through. So
what's the address out there?
Now you know why they call it the Golden State. Surprised Trump hasn't moved out here, Big C. I tell you, maybe
I thought they called it Golden State for some stuff that Russia was doing in a hotel room, with Trump.
No, that's not what I call it. But I tell you, when you think about it, the Golden State, it's like the bees are out here and they're eating this vibranium honey. If you've ever had honey, we love honey. I love honey as much as anything. But if you've ever had vibranium honey, most people don't know it exists. It's the best. Not only is it the best honey in the world, vibranium honey is the best honey in the universe. And if you ever had the chance to put your mouth on some, Big C, you'll want to go back for more, okay? It's like that moonshine. When you get that first cool sip of moonshine, imagine when they start putting that vibranium in it, Big C.
Maybe I'll start making some vibranium honey moonshine stuff, put a new spin on it.
Vibranium honey and moonshine. Don't let the smooth taste fool you, Big C. Billy D may have found it back in the day. I do want to tell you, so much going on in sports, and when I look at what happened last night with Golden State, just appreciating, I told you they found that vibranium honey. In fact, Steph Curry got hooked on it. He not hurt. He just can't get off the honey, Big C. That's all it is, Big C. He jumped up and down. Nothing's wrong with his leg. It's that vibranium honey got him going, Big C. But I look at Manu Ginobili. Not only is he a classy veteran, he's not someone that I've ever seen getting in your face. No one that's yelling at his coach, flipping off the audience, slamming his teammates for missing a pass or a basket. Big C, he's like that all universal European player, like the lion that came to the American continent. And I don't want to see him retire, Big C. I think he's also found that vibranium honey, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, he's been a class act, Charlton, ever since he came to this country from Italy, a decade and a half ago, Charlton. He's been an unsung hero of that San Antonio organization. He has been there through multiple championships, Charlton.
Yes.
He's never had the superstar status, but he's always had that tremendous player status.
Yeah.
Respected by his peers throughout the league, Charlton. And when you watch him, you always see that fountain of youth in him, as far as the things that he continues to do, the way he continuously elevates his game.
Yeah.
And doesn't let a lackluster performance by the rest of the team affect him. He's a consummate professional.
Yes.
You hate to see guys that have his character, exit early out of the playoffs, Charlton, but this is a team sport.
Yes.
And, you're going to have those exodus that happen in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But when you go back and you look at his career, and the NBA will celebrate his career as one of the all-time greats, Charlton, he has to be one of the top 100 players that has always played in the NBA.
Yeah, yeah.
You celebrate his accomplishments. You look at the championships that he's been a part of and an integral part of in San Antonio, Charlton. Just been a class act the whole way.
Yeah, he's a class act. And when I watch, what gives us longevity? The scientists say that if you spend your life doing what makes you happy.
Is it Viagra?
I have no idea. I think it's vibranium honey.
I don't know. I see all these ads on television for Viagra and Cialis. I thought that gave you a long life.
No,
it gave you something long. I didn't know what it was,
I love history, and the Moors ruled northern Africa and Europe for over 700 years. That's twice the lifespan of the United States of America. And I heard that some of the main staples of nutrition that the Moors would consume, they ate lion meat, Big C. They ate lions. That's how they dominate. There was something in the lion's blood that gave them superhuman strength. And they also found these vibranium honey, okay? They ate honey and they ate lions. And when you mix a lion with vibranium honey...
Does that come with batteries or is it plug-in? I'm not sure.
I think it's made from Mother Earth, Big C.
Oh, okay. Well,
but you think about it.
I keep hearing the vibration, and so my hearing is not always as clear as it used to be. But, when you say vibration, I'm looking around to see if there's batteries on the floor somewhere.
Well, I tell you, Cleopatra used to eat the vibranium honey, and she's one of the most beautiful women in the universe. You see people that have that that natural thing from the earth. You talk about that Mother Earth. There's something about it that makes you want to have more. It reminds me back in the day. You played football and you know a lot of the athletes. One of the great former quarterbacks, Hall of Famer Joe Namath. Remember back in the day, he had a commercial. It was by Aqua Velva, and he used to slap it on his face and slap himself, and he said, "Thanks, I needed that." He was slapping himself basically for the Aqua Velva, and he needed that. I think he also had some vibranium honey because he used to go to Africa a lot, Big C. That's something the Europeans haven't found yet.
Well, Joe needed to slap himself because he was on some pantyhose commercial. Yeah. And I think he was trying to wake himself up. Was that really me?
Yeah, I tell you. But didn't that good old boy live good? Now, he's from Alabama. I think he's down there your neck of the woods. Now, if you think about Broadway Joe, he wasn't really a great quarterback numbers-wise, but he had a charisma. He had that vibranium thing that they have in Wakanda, like the Black Panther movie, the number one movie in the universe. There's a lot of athletes that call being in the zone. And they talk about when you find the zone, everything slows down for you. Everything's easier for you. It's like the bees that come to the honey. They want to come to you. You don't got to chase them. What was it about Joe, Big C, when you look at this year's draft, and we'll get into some NBA too, what was it about Joe Namath? He wasn't a great quarterback numbers-wise, but he had a charisma. Is that what gave him staying power, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, I think, Charlton, coming from the Northeast, he's originally out of Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And he some trip down to Miami. He slid down a muddy hill or something. But, you think about, he took that charismaticness that he had from the Northeast down to the South.
Yeah.
So he was something that people weren't accustomed to seeing down there, even his vernacular, the way he spoke.
Yes.
Then when he got an opportunity, he had one of the most unique opportunities in the history of sports. He was a quarterback that was pursued by two leagues, the NFL and the AFL.
Yes.
The St. Louis Cardinals drafted him in the NFL. The New York Jets, with Sonny Werblin at the time, who was the owner, who was desperate to establish his new fledgling team, wanted the top player out of college football.
Right.
So he gave Joe a lot of leverage, offering him the richest contract in NFL history at that time.
Yes.
$400,000 a season. Think about it.
Yeah.
$400,000 a season.
Now it's a weekly pay.
And your cousin just got $84 million guaranteed.
Wow. Well, hold on, though.
At least Joe won a Super Bowl. Okay?
Oh, Cousins haven't won a Super Bowl yet, and they gave him 80. Maybe they're drinking on that vibranium moonshine up in Washington, D.C. Coast not Big C. It can make you mesmerize, Big C. It can make you forget where you are sometimes, and that's why the Moors lasted 700 years with it, Big C.
Well, I think that's why Joe was out there trying to kiss Susie Carter on the sideline. He's like, wait a minute. As much money as they make it, I left some on the table.
When he kissed Susie, he said, "This is not vibranium." I can tell, Big C. But there was something about that good old boy that made him last the test of time, and we'll talk about that more as we get into the draft later. But I want to jump back into the NBA, and we talk about, number one, Golden State and the Golden State, land of the free, home of the brave, and they look like what you were saying may come to fruition. They looked fresh. I mean, San Antonio, give them credit. They did not quit. I think they were playing the way Pop taught them to play. You play. You don't worry about what's going on outside of it. It's like the bee looking for honey. You focus on getting the honey. You got to pollinate that plant. And when I watch how San Antonio played so hard, imagine if they had Kawhi Leonard. Imagine if they had that extra kick that they needed. They would be a team that might be still playing because they would not have had to draw Golden State in the first round. Big C, that make any sense?
Well, this was a team that was going to test Golden State last year, Charlton.
Yeah.
And Kawhi went down with that injury. And they never came back, and they were swept after that point.
Thank you, Zaza.
But, we saw what Golden State did at the end of the regular season.
Yes.
Picking the games that they would lose. And everyone did not realize that Golden State was tanking intensely.
Yeah.
Because they wanted to set up their playoff matchups.
Yep.
Now, you got to be careful what you wish for, because they got a red-hot New Orleans Pelicans team that's going to be well-rested that swept Portland.
Yes.
And they're going to create a difficult matchup, for Golden State. I mean, it's a difficult matchup on both sides, and I think you'll see Draymond Green spending a lot of time on Anthony Davis.
Yes.
But that backcourt, with all that length that they have in New Orleans, can create some problems for them.
Yeah, with Drew
So
Holiday.
this is going to be a very interesting series, Charlton. I see it going at least 6 games.
Yeah, I think the NBA wants that. And as much as we want to see teams sweep, now I think Golden State only lost one playoff game last year. I may be wrong, but
16-1, Charlton.
Okay.
They went 16-1 in their championship run.
So that means if they match this year what they did last year, they won't lose any more games. I think that's highly unlikely. Too many people can see what you do. They learn your philosophy. They learn your pacing. And they know how to coach against that.
Charlton, that's the ingenuity of film work.
Yes.
And we have a lot more astute players and coaches in this era of basketball than what we had 20 years ago.
Yes.
You know, 20 years ago you had 1 or 2 great students of the game.
Yes.
Now players are getting on the plane with the game downloaded on their iPads.
Yeah.
Watching them on the plane, watching them once they get home.
Yes.
They get an opportunity to review and break down that game they just played and probably the previous game against that opponent also, Charlton.
Yeah.
So when you look at the advancement of technology, and this is what all sports have gone to.
Yes.
You know, we've seen a lot of pictures on the sideline, especially in football where coaches are rolling, you know, film, you know, large Polaroids,
Yes.
looking at a play from an overview. Well, players are sitting there with the laptop on the sideline,
Yeah.
watching it in actual time, watching the replay that we see on television.
Yeah.
So it gives quarterbacks and defensive backs an advantage to understand what's going on, and we see that in basketball. We think basketball is just a simple run game. No, it's not. It's very integral.
Yeah.
And that's what's made the Philadelphia 76ers so good this past season, Charlton.
Yeah.
Because they understand structure of basketball, playing without the basketball in your hands.
Yeah.
Golden State does that a lot, but Philadelphia does it better than anybody.
Well, you know, there's something that I see in Draymond, you know, doing some NBA work this year and doing the NBA playoff previews, and we were talking about Draymond Green, how I know people love Curry, and I love him too. In fact, I love Curry on my. I'm going to start putting vibranium honey on my curry chicken, Big C. That'll be a good with some honey and some vibranium moonshine. I think I just discovered a new restaurant that you can put in your restaurant menus, Big C, down south. But when I think about Draymond Green, and I know, and you brought it up earlier, I know Durant's a stud. We know he's a lion. Steph Curry's a lion. Klay Thompson, he's a lion, but he's not on the level of the first two. But if you don't have a guy like Draymond in the game, I think we saw what happened to Golden State when the league took him out of the game. When he kicked LeBron James and his golden honey, okay, I don't know what he kicked him in the honey patch in the vibranium steel part, and they suspended him after the game, not during the game, and it changed these things. They can't have him lose his composure, Big C, this year, especially when he's going to be playing a lot against Davis. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I think he's a more mature player now than what we saw a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
He understands how he cost his organization.
Yes.
In his antics. And, you know, you grow. And in anything in life,
Yeah.
you have to grow.
Right.
Your children grow. You love them when they can't move. Then you get nervous about them when they start walking and falling over. Then next thing you know, they're asking for the keys. You're really nervous.
Yeah, you're really nervous.
You know, and that's been the maturation stage that Draymond has gone through. You know, he fell into a great organization. He had a lot of career success early on. You know, you win a championship early in your career, and it's like, wow, I'm one of the greatest. Then all of a sudden, you think you can get away with anything.
Yeah.
You think you can yell at the officials. All of a sudden, you're getting these technical fouls, and you're costing your team. You're hurting them in the long run.
Yep. That's true.
This whole Golden State organization, Charlton, you know, from Steve Kerr on down, really understands you have to have a mission statement when you're playing sports.
Yeah.
And it's not all about selfishness. It's not all about going out there talking about me and my team.
Yeah.
It's about us, we.
Yeah.
And as long as you have that mentality as an athlete of us and we, you can always win and be successful as a unit.
Yeah.
The Hall of Fame is not made up of teams, regardless whether it's basketball, the NHL, football, hockey, basketball, anything.
Yeah.
Major League Baseball, you look at that. It is the only professional sport that it's an individual sport. because it's always you one-on-one
Yeah.
against a pitcher as a batter.
Yeah.
But it's still a team sport. You have to work as a unit.
You have to.
And in basketball especially, because there's 5 guys with movement, and you have to work in that centrical motion, Charlton, to make things happen.
Yes.
And when you take one guy out of sync, you take Green out of the game, that's taking a link out of the chain, they don't have anybody on their roster that can equal what he do.
Yeah.
He leads the team in assists, Charlton.
Yeah.
He's a top rebounder. So you take that out of the equation. Look at Houston without James Harden. Look at Cleveland without LeBron James. Look at New Orleans' loser streak they went through when Anthony Davis wasn't in the lineup with the sprained ankle.
Yeah.
That's how important Draymond Green is to the Golden State Warriors. We've seen Steph Curry miss games. We've seen Kevin Durant miss games.
Yep.
We've seen Klay Thompson miss games. But when Draymond Green is in the lineup, that is the straw that stirs the cocktail. I mean, the drink.
What kind of vibranium straw you using, Big C? You know, when I hear you say that, I think that I know we talk about Curry and we talk about, Durant. If Draymond's not in there, I think they suffer more than if Curry's not in there, because they need that physical body. And I'm glad you brought that up, Big C. So I hope Manu Ginobili comes back and plays. I love seeing when good guys last a long time. And just congratulations to them and what they did with their season. And again, Coach Pop and his family, our hearts and prayers are still with them. And I want to swing to another game. I know Boston, and you look at Milwaukee. It looks like Boston, that's a series that I think that Boston, like you mentioned earlier, they're a higher seed. They have more playoff pedigree. They have the tutelage of being in that environment. If you take Giannis out of the lineup with Milwaukee, Big C, he's the big lion on that team. Nobody else compares. There's a song by Sinead O'Connor says, "Nothing compares to you." Nothing compares to you. Okay, I don't sing it as well as Sinead O'Connor, Big C.
Just to go to reference, I want to say something to you.
Yes.
And even tips that you make to sing, you might want to go from briefs to boxes, okay? So use a little more air.
More air. Okay. I could use more air, Big C. I told you it's hot in California, especially when bees are chasing you and you're chasing the vibranium honey, Big C. It's hot. But I tell you, without Giannis, just like Cleveland without LeBron James, it shows you how much some teams are just a one-person player, and that's why I love the contrast that you drew when you talked about the European players come over here, and Big C, they're used to passing it like Don Carroll back in the day. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, that's how they're brought up. The fundamentals of the game is a thing that is lacking from the American players. They have grown up watching SportsCenter.
Yeah.
So they understand to get on SportsCenter that they have to do something spectacular in a game all the time. That's whether dribbling and crossing somebody over, getting to the basket, or trying to dunk on somebody. SportsCenter is not as big in Europe, Charlton. When kids learn to play the game, they learn the fundamentals.
Yeah.
The basket is taken out of the equation. It's about getting the spots. If you think about the late coach John Wooden at UCLA,
yes,
his success was based on his team's movement, running the offense, getting to your spot. The late Dean Smith taught the same way at North Carolina. They taught players the fundamental. You think about Dean Smith. He was the godfather of passing the basketball.
Oh, yeah.
Because he ran this offense back in the 70s called the Four Corners. This was prior to the shot clock. Is that he ran this four-corner offense regardless of how great an offensive team that you were.
Yep.
When you faced North Carolina State, you were going to be lucky to get 50 points. And I think they had a coach out there in Fresno State, Boyd Grant.
Boyd Grant.
Did the same thing.
Yeah.
Where, he thought a high-scoring basketball game was 56 points.
Yeah, that's 56 points are high for him.
And so when you look at the players like in Philadelphia, I love watching them because they're so fundamentally sound.
Yeah.
It's not, when you have a point guard, Ben Simmons, who is a larger version of Magic Johnson. You think about Magic Johnson's career. Magic Johnson grew up passing the basketball in Battle Creek, Michigan.
Yeah.
Well, that's what he did growing up. He knew how to pass the ball to make his teammates better. That's what has been LeBron's greatest tool as a professional athlete, is getting his teammates involved.
Yes.
Ben Simmons is doing the same thing, Charlton. Here's a guy that scores 20 points a game without a jump shot. You think about that. It's going to be Rookie of the Year.
That's incredible.
Just, evolving to be a dominant player, that's what you look at. But because he feels that it's so important to keep his teammates active in the offense, and he's still getting 20 points, and most of those are around the rim inside the paint.
Well, I tell
That's
you what,
what's effective with these younger players now, Charles.
That's a very good observation you made. I mean, it's rare to. We've heard people being compared to Magic Johnson. We heard, Jason Kidd went to St. Joseph Notre Dame Alameda High School in the Bay Area, and then went to Cal Berkeley, and had a great NBA career. As a coach, they let him go in Milwaukee. Milwaukee looks like they're lost coaching-wise. I don't know why he was let go. I think sometimes people don't get along for whatever reasons, but I think they could have used his tutelage in this playoff run. He's been in the finals, and he knows he's just been around winning all of his life, but he's not there. It's a shame he doesn't have a job in the NBA as a coach with his pedigree, Big C, and they are building their team up, and you need someone with experience that players can listen to. So when you say Simmons reminds you of a guy like Magic Johnson, that's very high esteem. Magic Johnson was a lion on the NBA court, playing all positions in a playoff game. You can't find one player today that can do that, maybe LeBron James. And to call him, Magic Johnson as a young pup, he's not even a lion yet. Imagine what he's going to be like in the next 5 years, Big C.
Well, Charlton, think about this. Simmons can play all the positions just like Magic can. Kevin Durant, Giannis can do the same thing also because they both do that. But you look at Simmons. He's a rookie.
Yeah.
And right now, you have to look at Philadelphia as possibly being the best team in the East, okay?
I think they are.
They took Miami out in 5. So they're resting, waiting on their next opponent. Whoever comes in is going to have their hands full with this team.
Yeah.
Now, there's something that Magic Johnson did as a rookie against the team that Ben Simmons is playing for.
Yeah.
Won the NBA title.
Yep.
Wouldn't it be ironic, Charlton, that script was flipped, and now that Ben Simmons is a rookie and goes on and wins an NBA title just like the player that you can compare him to, Magic Johnson,
yes,
as a rookie?
I tell you what, I know NBA trades can happen. And I know rookie players, when they throw the money at you, we always tell the African-American athlete, if you don't own something, like Magic Johnson has ownership in the Dodgers and the Lakers. He's a smart guy, very savvy businessman. And if you're going to get people coming to the Lakers, I'm not saying Simmons is coming, but sometimes we spend too much time chasing after guys who've already lived the prime of their life, the prime of their career. And when you want to build something, I know they have ball, and I know Simmons is in Philadelphia, but you just gave such great accolades to someone. What would he be like with the tutelage of a Magic Johnson, seeing he has such tremendous upside, and because Philadelphia hasn't offered him ownership in the team because they're not pressing enough to see it yet, Big C. They're more in love with Joel Embiid. But as people start moving around, the same way you move around those moonshine barrels, Big C, with that vibranium honey that you guys been going down south, Big C, that they imported from Africa, they haven't told everybody about it yet, Big C. Would you see a scenario where he could end up in L.A., Big C, with all the talk of people moving from team to team, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I think as he establishes himself in Philadelphia, and that's such a great market for sports figures. When you think about the success that they've had there in the past, with the Phillies, with the Flyers, with the Philadelphia Eagles now winning a Super Bowl, and the Sixers have won an NBA championship before. Well, when you have a star in that city, Charlton, they're beloved. You look at Dr. J. Wilt played in that city early in his career and won his first NBA title.
Yeah.
He ended up moving on to the Lakers. But I think when you look at players like Dr. J, this is what he's bringing back to that city. A player who can be loved and embraced like Doc was.
Yes.
Charles Barkley spent the greater part of his career in that city, as well as Andre Iguodala. But when you bring a winner to a city, Charlton,
yes,
it's very difficult to leave. When you think about that, if you start your career someplace and you win a championship and you're one of the stars of that team, it's very rare to see a player leave. I know Kareem left Milwaukee,
yes,
but he just outgrew Milwaukee.
Yeah.
And the NBA needed him in Los Angeles.
Yes.
To help the NBA out as a whole.
Yep.
But, what I see with Simmons and the cast of characters that he has, we're talking about a young team. You're talking about the core of this team, Charlton, that are all 1, 2, 3, 4-year players in the NBA. So you're looking at a team that you can hold together for the next decade and be dominant and win potentially multiple championships in this league. So for him to move, I don't think he's going to be starstruck with Los Angeles. You got to understand, his dad was a professional basketball player.
Yeah.
So, and he played in Australia. So he's not enamored by being around certain areas. He tutored his son, brought his son to the U.S. for the purpose of getting into the NBA.
Yeah.
They've accomplished their dream.
Wow.
And when you look at the cast that he has around him, where is he going to go find a better fit than the players that he has around him now?
Well, keep in mind, there's what they call it when you put one rooster in the hen house, and then you bring in another rooster and a third rooster. The roosters tend to fight each other more than they enjoy the vibranium chicken eggs, Big C, that they could be producing, Big C. I think sometimes you have too many superstars. Not everybody can stay there because they cannot give everybody maximum money. That's something that they're going to have to deal with.
Look at the Lakers when they had their run. When they had Showtime.
Yes.
You had Kareem. You had Magic. You had James Worthy. You had Byron Scott. You had a cast of AC Green. You had a 5-member All-Star team, Charlton, that was content.
Yeah.
And they were smart enough to understand if they were content, is that they could win.
That's a good point.
We understand that players are going to get paid now in professional sports.
Yes.
And the salary caps allow you to pay players. So I don't think the difference now, Charlton, of $5 million in a season really affects the players. Look at what Miami did when they had Wade, Bosh, and James.
Yes.
You had players take a reduction in salary to do what? Win championships.
Win. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the most important thing in the legacy of an athlete. We hear this all the time. Did he win a championship? How many championships does he have? That's what professional athletes are measured in now. Russell Westbrook is getting $218 million in Oklahoma City.
Wow.
Will never win a championship in Oklahoma City. So is the money what Russ is chasing? No, because he could have not signed that max contract and still made $153 million, Charlton.
That's a lot of money.
And so you tell me the difference in that $50 million over 5 years. Does it really make a difference to Russ over 5 years, that $50 million when you look at his outside endorsements? Would he trade in that $50 million to be on a championship team? Yes, he would, Charlton. Yep. Because he's not going to go broke making $158 million.
Unless he runs across vibranium honey and spends all this money on it, Big C, the mining that stuff out of Africa, Big C. I want to touch on a couple of games tonight before we close out on the NFL draft and how a lot of people are clamoring over guys that never even played a down in pro ball, but they're saying they're going to make our franchise what it is. I just want to touch on a little bit Utah and OKC. Tonight, you're going to see Lions hunt. And either they have the fight in them in OKC. They seem to be more interested in having fake fights on the floor. You're not going to have a real fight. If you really want to be a fighter, get into the UFC, fight in the MMA. Don't fight some guy in the basketball court where your teammates are going to bail you out. You get into the MMA, you're in the octagon. Nobody's going to bail you out except you get tapped out or the referee stops it or the knockout. You rarely have fights go to the finish. So I hate when guys posture like they're going to fight. They're not going to fight, okay? But will they fight tonight on the court the way they were trying to fight with their hands against Utah last time, Big C? Your thoughts? Give me your thoughts on that, Big C.
Dalton, this is a situation where Oklahoma City is in total disarray.
Yeah.
And they can't figure themselves out. Carmelo Anthony just looks tired.
He's tired, Big C.
George has played above and beyond. This is the best series he's ever had since he's been in the NBA in the playoffs. But Westbrook has disappeared. He got distracted by the media. When they talked to him about Ricky Rubio outplaying him, it threw him off kilter, Charlton.
I saw that.
He has not recovered from it. You're talking about a guy who is an emotional wreck right now. You know, he's lived the last 2 years hearing nothing but Kevin Durant. That's all he's heard, Kevin Durant, for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden he gets into a series with a guy who has never really been in the playoffs before. This is Ricky Rubio's first run in the playoffs as being an NBA.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden he gives up a triple-double to a guy that's not an all-star, where he's the triple-double king.
Yes.
That's all he's heard the last 2 years. I'm the triple-double king. Now all of a sudden you look at Ricky Rubio taking him to task.
Yes.
And then the media getting on him. And the only thing he can say to the media, that ain't happening again. I'm shutting that down.
Yeah. That's
when you say you shutting that down, you're not talking about we're going to play better team basketball. I'm going to get my teammates involved more. I'm going to do a better job offensively to take my game up to the next level.
Yes.
It was talking about I'm shutting this guy down. He focused on one aspect of the game, Charlton.
Yep. I
Ricky Rubio.
Yeah.
And nobody in the NBA in the last 5 years has focused on Ricky Rubio as far as trying to shut him down.
No, that's a
so you spend so much defensive effort on this one guy who's the middle of the pack point guard in the NBA.
Yeah. That
you took your teammates out of the game.
That's a good point.
And so that's really hurt them.
Yeah, and you got to realize you got team, and there's no I in team from what I understand. See, I do want to say that sports is a billion-dollar industry, and boys and girls sports is the foundation to this billion-dollar industry. And for every athletic and sporting event, you need athletic and event insurance. We work with Ben and Mark. They've been around half a century. They work with Big C Sports, whether you're a pro team, a collegiate team, a high school team, even your mom and pop soccer league. When you reach out to them, let them know Big C sent you at 800-772-8624. That's 800-772-8624. Big C, I feel like I won the lottery. I had so much vibranium honey today, Big C. Sometimes you get a sample. I see why they hide that good old boy stuff. You know, some restaurants you go to, you know, there's a lot of places in Northern California. They have these sweet tooth, these candy shops. You can go and you can get the candy behind the glass. But also, if you ask, do they have any samples of anything that they only offer to special members, Big C? And sometimes they tell you vibranium honey, the best stuff in the universe, can't get enough of that stuff. But I want to get your thoughts tonight. The Lions up there, you know, Minnesota, we talked about they got to feed the Lion, Karl Anthony Towns. And we know Lions got to eat. But you talked about Houston. Houston, they rested their Lions for a while, and they got blown out in one game, and they came back and won it. And they have a chance tonight to put an end to a lot of talk about who's going to do what. Now, they're favored by 12 at home versus Minnesota, and it just seems like they realize they do have some Lions in their team, and it's not necessarily that it's Harden and Paul, but it's the fact that people can play good defense too, and they really shut down the Lion and Anthony Towns. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I think that point spread might be a foregone conclusion in the first half. This is a game after Houston watched Golden State last night saying, okay, we have to play with a purpose. We've allowed Minnesota to get one game, and they got that on the road, you know, at home. Now we're back home. It's time to close this series out. They need a little rest.
Yes.
You know, the thing that I saw at Houston in this last game that they played against Minnesota was the tenacity that they possessed, Charlton. They had an easiness about them. You know, Harden was moving effortlessly.
Yes.
I'm watching Chris Paul have elevation on his shots. Something I haven't seen Chris Paul in the last 3 years do, have this type of elevation in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And the role players, Charlton, played their roles well. I mean, you got a young center that's blocking shots, getting rebounds, getting out on the wing in the fast break, Charlton. They outran Minnesota in this game. They physically outran them with speed. And when you utilize that speed as well as the length that they have and the offensive firepower that Houston has, you know, Minnesota will take the route of San Antonio tonight, Joe.
Yeah, it looks like they've already taken that Lions blood is very powerful. And in fact, the reason the Lions are the king of the jungle and they roamed Africa with the Moors, they also used to eat vibranium honey, Big C. People think I'm joking about it, but there's something about that lion meat with the vibranium running through its veins that makes it feel like king of the universe. I want to get your thoughts, too, on, you know, we love, I know Drake might be upset. He was kind of shaking in his boots when I don't care how many awards he's won, Big C. When they heard Big C Sports sing, "Oh, Canada, our home and native land," I tell you that Gooderboy's been practicing. But I don't know if he's practicing enough. I know Toronto's favored by 7. But Washington, they know Donald Trump over there in Washington, Big C. They might grab him when they don't feel comfortable, Big C. Your thoughts, Big C?
Well, they will stray away from the White House stuff.
Yeah.
And with Macron in town, the French president,
Yeah.
I don't think they got anybody in from Quebec, Montreal, to be at the game.
Yeah.
This is the game that I think Toronto's desperate right now, Charles.
They are.
Is that Washington has shocked them. They've taken them to task. You think about it, you're number 1 seed and you're playing the number 8 seed.
Yep.
This is supposed to be in an easy route, but they're getting routed. So Washington really has advantage in this series, rather.
Yeah.
You think about Toronto. They are nervous. You look at their past history in the playoffs. When they've gotten down, they haven't found a way to come back.
No.
And so this is what I'm looking at, that an 8 seed will oust them.
I tell you what, the point spread's only 7. You go out of the country, the point spread's 7, and you're the home team, the number 1 seed, favored by only 7 at home in a pivotal game over a number 8 seed. I tell you, there's something to look at in that game, Big C. I don't really know which way to go on it. Wouldn't be surprised if either team won that game. So the game I want to ask you about is the game that everybody's watching. You look at King James. He found that vibranium honey, Big C. I guarantee you. Look at the way he plays. He's dominant. He's relaxed. You can tell he has everything he needs to win. He has the moxie. He has the body, the frame. Somebody's giving him enough of that honey, but he ain't got to worry about it. He knows it's there waiting for him, Big C. And that vibranium still, when you watch the Black Panther movie, when they put on that suit, that Black Panther suit, when he puts on that basketball uniform, especially if they wear that big C on their shirt, Big C, they are more successful when they wear the big C on their shirt as opposed to Cleveland. Your thoughts on LeBron? Will he continue to play like a lion tonight, or will they succumb to the small Cubs from Indianapolis, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, LeBron is going to succumb to his will, Charlton. He will will this team to get it to where it needs. I mean, as long as he has his sidekick and Kevin Love scoring, Charlton, they should be fine. It's the rest of the guys who you never know that are his mystery team.
Yeah.
Who's going to be there?
Yep.
Kyle Korver needs to have another good game like he had last time. I understand he lost his brother a couple of weeks ago, Charlton. Very sad incident. But now that he's back in the lineup and he sees that basketball is his focus once again, taking him away from that agony of life, is that he can come out and hit some jump shots. He will create that separation. You never know if J.R. Smith is going to be there.
Yes.
The players that they got in the trade, late in the season, mid-season, Charlton, are not the answers. They're hoping to be a stopgap.
Yes.
But, they're going to need some points from them. They're going to need at least 25 points from their bench, Charlton, to win this game tonight.
Yeah, they definitely need some help, Big C. So congratulations to the basketball universe. Really you want to see a Lion. Watch LeBron James. When you're a king, you gotta take some scars to be the king. No one just gives you the title of being the king. Even the dominant Lion, they got to fight for that position because there's always other Lions trying to knock him off. And the Lion gets all the vibranium honey at once, Big C. So that's the LeBron James. I just think he's really the best player in the universe, and I love seeing him play. I want to touch on, as we keep it in Cleveland, Big C, I look at Joe Madden as one of the great managers in Major League Baseball. 64 years old. He loves the game. It's like it's a kid. They're playing Cleveland for the first time since they had the Big C World Series, Big C. Just give me your thoughts on how baseball, it can't compare to what the Cavs are doing right now. But for baseball, for the baseball universe, it's great to see these two teams, throwing the bat in the ball again, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you say he's like a kid, and it's hard to compare to what the Cavaliers are doing. They're right across the street from each other. There's actually a tunnel that goes from the baseball stadium to the basketball arena, Charles.
Yeah.
So you have access to each other, and you say that Joe Madden reminds you of a kid.
Yeah.
Has anybody ever checked to see what he has in that cup he's always tipping up on the in the dugout?
Vibranium honey.
Okay, because he's sipping it slow.
Yep.
He's not trying to guzzle it, so he's a slow sipper.
Yeah.
And so he's trying to stay awake while the game is going on, okay?
He's been to Africa, Big C. He found that vibranium honey over there, Big C.
But, you know, this is the first time that the two Big C's have faced each other since the World Series 2 years ago, Charlton, that the Cubs ended up winning in 7 dramatic games.
Yes.
But, you know, both teams right now are starting to heat up. So this should be a very interesting series. You think about the city of Cleveland, though, right now, Charlton.
Yes.
It is the epicenter of the sports universe in the United States.
Yeah.
The only thing that is missing is a hockey team in Cleveland. And you wonder why there's no hockey team in Cleveland when you think about all these northeastern cities. And Cleveland doesn't have an NHL team. You got teams in Florida. You got teams in California, Texas.
Yeah.
And you don't even have a team in Cleveland. You know, Rob Bettman. You know, Gary Bettman.
Yeah.
Look at Cleveland. They might deserve an NHL team, you know, when you think about a Northeast city that has a fan base that's built for it. But, you know, when I think about the Cubs and the Cleveland Indians, Charlton, two teams that toiled for so long with not having success in Major League Baseball, and now they've risen back to the pinnacle. It's just great right now over the next 24 hours to be in Cleveland.
Yeah.
You think about tomorrow, Charlton. Cleveland, number 1 on the clock.
Yeah.
In an NFL draft.
I tell you what, Big C, that is so powerful when you brought it up. There's that city right now, I know it's kind of a Rust Belt city, but they have a lot going for them. And for the sports fan, I'm sure they can really find a way to entertain themselves. Big C, the last part of our program, I know, you know, I appreciate so much, and again, on Toronto and in the NHL playoffs tonight at Boston, and Boston's the favorite there, so maybe one of the teams from Toronto will win, and we'll see which one it will be, but I doubt it will be both, Big C. In the NFL, you know, when we look at the playoff and the draft, and NFL is something else, because we don't have kickoff until coming up on, you know, August. And July, of course, everybody's at camps, but when you look at the college level and you want to get to the center of the NFL, the University of Southern California, Lynn Swann Stomping Grounds, my favorite university on the West Coast, the Trojans have had 80 first-round NFL draft picks since 1936. 80, Big C, since 1936. And I know now they're talking about maybe having another one when you look at their quarterback, but I don't know if he merits that. But there's something about that university. They've turned out so many first-round draft picks, and now when we look at who they're looking at now in the draft, I just want to get your thoughts. Are you still high on Saquon Barkley? I think he's the best player in the draft. I know mainstream media wants to push the quarterback because they want a white guy to say this is our look for the NFL, and people know that's the fact, okay? But if you look at the best player, Saquon Barkley out of Penn State is the best talent right there. If you want to build your team, you need a running game. Big C, your thoughts?
Charlton, you can't always worry about a eugenic look when you're trying to win. You have to put yourself in the best position to win. The Cleveland Cavaliers, the Cleveland Browns went out and made a trade for a playoff caliber quarterback. They brought in Tyrod Taylor.
Yes.
Now, if they want to have success, look at the model that Tyrod Taylor presents for them. They had an excellent running back in Shady McCoy in Buffalo.
Yep.
That aided Tyrod Taylor. You do the same thing. You use the same format in Cleveland that they had in Buffalo. Buffalo went 9-7. Using that format would have been 10-6, but they wanted to start this kid named Nathan Peterson.
Yeah.
You know, that threw 5 interceptions in the first 5 minutes of the game.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. He was, what was he, 5 or 6 or something like that?
Yeah, he was bad.
It was
5 bad.
5 interceptions.
It was
one
bad.
incompletion.
It was bad.
Okay. Now you got Taylor. You have a serviceable NFL quarterback with experience.
Yep.
There's not a learning curve there, Charlton. You install him. You put a running back behind him, a la Shady McCoy, to assist him.
Yep.
You've gone out and you've got 2 excellent receivers, and now you have 3 excellent receivers on your offense. You got a quarterback that's NFL ready. You got 3 NFL receivers Now all you need is this solid, stable running back.
Yes.
That's Saquon Barkley. If you want to turn this offense around, you don't bring in a quarterback saying, okay, we're going to sit him down for 2 years. Because why did you make the trade for Taylor?
Yeah.
So now you got two quarterbacks. If you draft a quarterback number one, Charlton, you're on the hook for the next couple years for $50 million between two quarterbacks.
Yes.
$50 million, you're only playing one. So pay the running back, draft him.
Yeah.
You put him in day one. He's 230 pounds, runs a 4.4 40. He's an NFL caliber running back. Look at the success Dallas had with Ezekiel Elliott.
Yep.
Look at the success that Jacksonville had with Leonard Fournette.
Yes.
Okay? Rookies, getting you to the playoffs. Think about that. When you got rookies getting you to the playoffs, Kansas City, Kareem Hunt. You think about it. You show me all those rookie quarterbacks, Charlton, that were drafted last year.
Yeah.
Okay? Which one made the playoffs?
None of them.
I'm waiting.
None of them.
Okay? Which one made the playoffs?
None.
Okay.
None.
In the last 2 years, we've had rookie running backs take their teams to the playoffs, and last year, two of them, Charlton, took their teams to the playoffs. Kareem Hunt in Kansas City, Leonard Fournette in Jacksonville. And yet, the quarterbacks got all the hype.
Yep.
But for some reason, these running backs are creating productivity in the league and threats to defenses. So if you want to win, and I understand your buddies, Todd McShay and Mel Kiper, you guys will probably be out having a beer
I
after
don't know,
the show is
dude.
over. Okay?
Yeah.
And they'll invite you out to Applebee's or somewhere, you know.
But they're not getting my vibranium honey, Big C. That's off limits for them, okay?
But, you know, when you draft these quarterbacks, we heard all this talk last year about Mitch Trubisky. Your buddy Mel Kiper, oh, yeah, he's the best quarterback in the draft. You know, you got to take him.
Yeah.
I think the Bears won 2 games with him.
Yep.
2 games. 2 games.
Yeah.
Yet the Jacksonville Jaguars with Leonard Fournette won their division, went to the AFC Championship.
Yes.
Kareem Hunt, Kansas City, had a playoff game. They beaten by Tennessee.
Yes.
But he led the league in rushing. Kareem Hunt did.
Yeah.
Leonard Fournette was a 1,000-yard rusher.
Yep.
And they only had serviceable quarterbacks. They didn't have all-pro quarterbacks. They had serviceable quarterbacks.
That's true.
So I'm always confused when your friends Kiper and McShay talk about these guys are franchise quarterbacks, but they can't win. And, you know, it will be 5 years before Mitch Trubisky has a winning season in the NFL. But he's a can't-miss project. So if you got to wait 5 years for your quarterback to win, but yet when you draft a running back,
yeah,
you're winning automatically.
Automatically.
When do you have a successful draft?
that makes a lot of sense. I think about that when you bring that up. Barkley's the best athlete, best running back, best player, best choice. Look at what he did for the Penn State Nittany Lions. Had them knocking on the door to win it all, and did it against defenses where they knew he was getting the ball. Now, he reminds me of a bigger Thurman Thomas back in the day. Bigger than Barry Sanders even. And I think about what he brings to a team. This guy can catch the ball out of the backfield. He can take it the distance. He can cut back across the grain. You know how hard it is, Big C, to cut back across the grain? And when you're cutting across the grain against NFL talent, pro football players, you know you defensive guys hold all the time anyway. You normally don't get called for it. And he cut back against the grain anyway.
Well, think about this, Charlton.
Yeah.
Early on, they were talking about this kid, Allen, out of Wyoming.
Who?
Whoever he is. Okay, think about it. The last 2 years as a starter in Wyoming, he missed part of one season. He was 8-6 as a starter over the last 2 years.
Yeah.
8-6. Okay, that's the equivalency of an NFL season, but he was 8-6.
Yes.
You look at any of these quarterbacks. You look at Sam Darnold. 21 turnovers last year at Southern Cal.
Yep.
21 turnovers as a college quarterback.
Yeah.
And so that's Eli Manning standard.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
21 turnovers.
Yeah.
So that's the type of quarterback you're getting. You look at Baker Mayfield. You don't know if he's going to play or he's going to be in jail.
You don't know.
He got a little that Johnny Manziel syndrome about it.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So that's always a concern when you look at him.
Yes.
They say Josh Rosen is too smart. That tells you how dumb personnel people is. If the kid in college is too smart.
Yeah.
And, you say you want a cerebral quarterback.
Yes.
And the story on Jackson is that he's an enigma.
Yeah.
He won a Heisman Trophy, but he's an enigma.
Yep. What you call him, Big Z? It's funny. You said he won the Heisman Trophy. That means he was better than all the college quarterbacks that they're putting ahead of him. But all of a sudden, when it's time to pay the black man, who said pay me my money? Is Jerry Maguire and show me the money? Show me the money. When it's time to show him the money, they say, well, he's kind of lazy with his pass. He's not accurate downfield. And we don't know if he really wants to play the game the way he should. And now the same guy that beat everybody they want to put above him, they're saying he's not ready to be a first-round NFL draft pick. And I hate when they do that. Big C, I want to close out on a couple more players in the final 5 minutes. We talked about Rosen, you talked about Darnold. But I look on the defense. You're a defensive guy. Mika Fitzpatrick, down there your neck of the woods, Alabama. They found that vibranium honey too, Big C. That's why they win all the time, Big C. That good old boy. He's a proven track record for working out hard. He's as good a safety as we've seen. He can play the outside linebacker position. He's a versatile leader. And Nick Saban got away with getting that guy's talent without paying him anything, Big C, legally. Big C, your thoughts on him as an NFL first-round draft pick?
Well, you think about Fitzpatrick. He's played well in the system. But I also got to go back to the last 3 years of the Alabama players, Charlton, that have entered the NFL.
Yeah.
Who has really stood out? I mean, we look at that linebacker out there in San Francisco that stayed in all the trouble, Foster.
Yeah, Foster.
He's probably gotten the most notoriety of anybody out of Alabama. I mean, Dallas had a linebacker a couple of years ago that went awry out of Alabama that they couldn't keep in the wraps.
Yes.
So I'm really not enamored by Alabama players going to the NFL because they're so stockpiled in college. They seem to have an advantage in the conference that they play in.
Yeah.
And the conference overall is not that dominant. There's maybe 3-4 teams in the SEC.
Yeah.
Out of 15, 16 in the conference that are really good.
Yeah.
But Alabama's defensive players have not translated great to the NFL. Florida State has a better safety that would be a better NFL player. But when you're looking at if you really have a need on defense, I think you start up front with the defensive line.
Yeah.
Because if you can't put pressure on the quarterback, you got to ask the DB to have a long stride and a short memory.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Because he's going to be like Elvis Patterson. He's going to be toast on a regular basis.
That's funny, Big C.
So that's what you have to look at. If you look at the upgrade on the defensive side of the ball, it's always nice to say quarterback.
Yeah.
But quarterbacks are like quarterbacks. They're focal points. It's that, when you got a rookie quarterback,
yes,
let's go over here and have lunch.
The Lions
over here today.
The Lions are out to eat. Big C, a couple more players. Running back. I know as a defensive player, running backs are tough to tackle. Earl Campbell was tough to tackle. Bo Jackson, he was tough to tackle. Marcus Allen, he was tough to tackle. I think about this guy, this good old boy out of Georgia, and Chubb, Nick Chubb. He is physical. He's durable. And he and Michelle leaving Georgia, they're also NFL ready. Your thoughts on how high they may go in the draft, Big C?
Well, I really like Sonny Michel, Charlton. The NFL player I compare him the most to is a Marshall Faulk.
Oh, really?
He reminds me of a Marshall Faulk in many ways. He's a guy who's electrifying. He has great acceleration, Charlton.
Yeah.
He can get out on the edge. I don't know if his hands are as good as Marshall Faulk catching the ball out of the backfield because that's not a big thing in the SEC, throwing to the backs on a regular basis. But he's the type of running back I feel can be an impact player as much, if not more, than Barkley can.
Yeah.
Because the team that he goes to, Charlton, won't be a struggling team drafting in the top 5 or 10 in the NFL draft. He will fall to a team that is a decent team, Charlton, potentially that was a playoff team last year.
Yeah.
That's a running back away from getting to where they need. Probably a real good fit for him would be in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
If Andrew Luck can play, or even if they're playing Jacoby Brissett, and they can get a couple offensive linemen in Indianapolis playing on that turf, I think he could really be effective. But I think he might be that back that we saw in Kareem Hunt last year out of Toledo.
Yes.
That Sonny Michel can duplicate what Kareem Hunt did, falling to a good, solid NFL team and walking in and being productive right off the bat.
Well, I love the talk of that, Big C. We have NBA playoff tonight. The Lions are off the hunt. They're all looking for that vibranium honey, and maybe some of them's going to find it and advancing in the playoffs tonight. Also, Major League Baseball, Chicago and Cleveland at the center of the baseball universe, playing that good old series up in the north. Big C, I tell you, NHL's tipping off, but it just doesn't compare to the NBA. I love NBA action. It's fantastic. We're getting ready for the NFL draft and all those things we talked about. We'll see how they come to fruition. Big C, back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Bundini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, with all you've got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young men, rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Charlton, I'm looking forward to the Cleveland Browns not making a mistake and getting it right. I mean, their fans have suffered too long and too often in the NFL. Pick the player you need to stabilize your franchise, not the players that people are speculating about. This has potential upside.
Yeah.
And when you have upside, that means you're on your back a lot, and you need to get up, okay?
Yeah.
Pick a running back, someone who can stabilize your offense. Get your offensive line the help that they need. You think about it, when your offensive line has the help that you need in football, and that's a running back,
Yeah.
they get excited. That means they'll protect the quarterback even more because they're opening holes for the running back.
Yep.
Cleveland, draft Saquon Barkley, number 1 overall. Tell Mel Kiper, tell Todd McShay, and tell Mike Mayock that they've never been a general manager.
I tell you what, you want to bring the new Jim Brown, the new version of Jim Brown, and he don't have Raquel Welch there to distract him, Big C. I think Saquon Barkley, he's the best player in the draft. If you don't know it now, you will know it in the future. Big C, I want to tell everybody thanks for watching the Big C Sports Show coming up to TV in 2018 in the summer. I want to tell you every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide. Follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America, and Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. As we always tell you, there's never, ever any excuse for domestic violence. If you know any man or woman going through that garbage, please call 911, because no man or woman should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you, on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.